Hello, welcome back to the podcast. The mic finally works, so we're back on the MacBook, and there will probably be a stream this week. Breaking news: I'm streaming again soon. I can't wait. There's so much that I've missed that we could talk about, like I feel like the Blair White conservative panel thing that happened is like ripe content for me to cover. Like it's like perfect. It's like the internet needs my analysis of what happened there. And of course I'm talking about the panel she went on with John Doyle and that blonde woman who told her like the best thing you can do for us is grow out your mustache and tell people not to look like you. That incident. Because there's just so much there. Like, I don't want to over focus on that on the podcast this week, but like there's so much there to analyze that happened there. Like this is like when being the token trans woman is taken like to its fullest extent and taken like too far, to the point where she's literally being told like, you are our dog. You are our useful idiot that we use to promote our more conservative conception, first of all, of transness, because Blair White has her weird bullshit about trans kids, her weird bullshit, her lying about trans athletics, like all of that shit. The more conservative, more amicable to the current reactionary conception of gender itself, which is hegemonic in our society, she is the useful idiot to perpetuate those ideas and that conception of things. And that's basically what that woman is telling her, is like, you are our tool. It's just like when Dennis Prager told Dave Rubin that he was like, it's good that you call yourself a liberal and then defend right-wing politics and conservative belief systems, because you're our useful little gay Jew puppet that we use to propagate this bullshit. You're our more palatable to the general liberal public's face that we use to sort of continue reifying our fucked up society. And so like it's that type of thing, you know what I mean? And the disappointing thing, like, I'm honestly thinking about reacting not just to the video, but reacting to Vosh's reaction to it, because he couldn't point that out. For whatever fucking reason, Vosh is too stupid to make an actual analysis of the situation like that. He turns it all into individual psychology. He turns it all into, oh, she hates herself. It's like, no, you don't have to go into the individual armchair psychoanalysis of the situation. You just have to give it a socio-political analysis. Like, I hate that shit so much. Like, honestly, Vosh is too much of an individualist. He's too much of it's everything to him is too much about individual traits of people than it is about like social structures. It's very frustrating. He doesn't have a good analysis of shit like that. It's like, I tried watching that, I couldn't get through it, because it's just like he can't stop focusing on the dumb shit. And he can't make a good point like that. It's infuriating. Like, he can't analyze what's actually wrong with the situation, like what's actually happening with the situation. He just has to go to fucking stupid little meme comments. Like, honestly, I think RedTube is going downhill. Like, overall. Like, I think it's losing its steam as a political label, as like a brand. It's like it's whatever the word is for, like, it's like a old car that's like breaking down. I don't think it's gonna last that long. Like, the new people who are emerging on the YouTube scene are not calling themselves bread tubers. In fact, a lot of them are tankies, which is like a key difference. I think there's more of an appetite for tanky content than BreadTube will like to admit. Because, like, again, back to the individual psychology bullshit. Vosh has a whole bunch of leftists in name only, thinking that if you're a tanky, you're just like a quote-unquote mentally ill, crazy person who's like basically a degenerate who doesn't belong in society. Like, Vosh has people thinking that. But it's like, I feel like most old school leftists especially were tankies. Like, at least to some extent. Like, there's this whole like delusional rejection of all socialist movements just because they didn't achieve full-scale communism, as in like stateless, classless, moneyless societies, is a very hysterical, honestly disconnected from reality type of perspective. Like, it's not, most normal people who aren't like just like terminally online, like, I'm gonna use their rhetoric against them here. Most people who are just like not these terminally online leftists, self-identifying leftists, don't have that kind of perspective on things. They have a lot more of a nuanced perspective on it than just like tanky bad red fascists. Like, that's not a realistic analysis of the situation at all. Like, it's literally just like Voshism, honestly. And if you're actually gonna do any real life work that isn't with neoliberals, you know, like that's actually with other leftists, then you're gonna have to take a left unity stance. Because, like, you're gonna have to work with people that you consider tankies. Like, there's no way around that. I feel like Voshists don't understand this. I really feel like they don't get that. And, like, I'm not even an ML. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. But I'm not this deranged, like, hysterical, tanky derangement syndrome type person either. And, like, what I'm saying isn't just like Vosh bad either. I'm actually making a substantive critique of him and his like this whole like ideology that he's created in his fan base, because that's really what it is. It's not like they're like principled anarchists or anything. Voshism is its own ideology, it seems. Because they believe shit that no one else believes. Like what I was just describing with the tanky thing. It's all like this, it's a manufactured ideology from just kids who sit around and watch Twitch all day. Like that, you know? But yeah, that's not what I wanted to focus on at all in this episode. That's not what I wanted to talk about. So maybe we'll just I'm thinking about making a video about like what happened to Vosh, because it seems like he's been liberalized to a great extent from where he used to be. Like, this whole bullshit about like he'll talk about, oh, I just want to focus on policy, but then he doesn't focus on policy. You know what I mean? And like policy is not the end all be all of politics. Like policy is not just, or politics is not just policy making. That's not how it works. Like, think about the fact that in order for your talking about policy to actually matter, you have to be in a position of power to enact them. Like, that's just material reality. Like, think about analyzing the power structure that gets certain policies passed. Like, think about that. Right? Like, yeah, you actually have to have a structural analysis of the system that isn't just, oh, what policies do you want? It's like, what about power? What about the power dynamic? What about that? Focus on that as well. And his weird bullshit about, like, his weird utilitarian fucking nonsense about, like, principles and, like, oh, what ideas do you think are good and what ideas do you think are bad? And it's like, it's just like, it doesn't, he doesn't understand that he's not doing anything when he talks about that stuff. Like, there's nothing being done there. And I'm gonna have to, like, gather a better critique, because I'm just talking about this on the fly right now. So, but it's just so disappointing. Like, these are the people who got me into this kind of political framework, and now I'm seeing myself surpass them in my knowledge and in my interests. You know what I mean? Like, it's always like, there's always a disappointment when the student becomes the master in some sense. You know what I mean? Like, that ContraPoints critique is coming soon. I promise you it'll be out by the end of this month. Because people need to understand that the way she framed trans liberation isn't trans liberation. It's literally just trans inclusion in the way society already is. And you can't seed the ground of a concept of gender and just be like, oh, that doesn't matter. You can't do that. Because the majority of the problem, and I know this because this is what I went through, the majority of the problem that perpetuates the transphobia is the fact that the current popular concept of gender is bullshit. That's the main problem. So you can't just be like, you can't just throw up your hands and be like, the concept doesn't matter. Because the concept is the fucking issue. Like, they don't have that analysis of shit. And it's really disappointing. How, like, they don't have that real look at reality. It's all just, like, utilitarian fucking gauges of good and bad, or whatever the fuck that is supposed to mean. It's fucking stupid. Like, BreadTube has become stupid, in my opinion. But that's not even what I was fucking trying to talk about this week. So let's change gears here. Okay, so I noticed that Jordan Peterson has been tweeting again. And so I responded to one of his tweets. I don't know if anyone saw this, because for some reason none of my followers were the people who liked my tweets in this exchange. But he made some bland, empty comment about, like, it was a quote tweet to some random person. He's like, if you think that capitalism is the cause of inequality, you're like, I don't know what he said. He said something like, you're just a, like, resentful. Let me see if I can pull it up so I can actually talk about it. If you think capitalism is the fundamental cause of inequality, you are not in the least serious about understanding inequality or about ameliorating its most undesirable consequences, which is a problematic statement to a socialist in multiple ways, because, like, inequality is an undesirable consequence of the economic order in itself. Like, it's not about ameliorating the most undesirable consequences of inequality. It's about ameliorating inequality itself as an undesirable consequence of capitalism. Like, but the problem with his worldview is he sees it as, like, inequality is just a natural fact of the world, because he conflates every single possible thing that you could see as unequal with economic inequality and, like, inequality of material fucking livelihood and your quality of life. He conflates all of it to be the same natural / mythical phenomenon. Like, his entire ideology is just like, and in fact, his entire pathetic political project is literally just, oh, hierarchies are natural, and the world is run by this ideal realm of mythical substrate that underlies the material world, that decides everything the same way every time across all domains of things, with his stupid fucking points about the quote-unquote Pareto distribution and shit. Like, all of that idealism, all of that idealist fucking bullshit that sounds scientific, but actually this guy's a fucking pseudo-intellectual. Like, it's... people don't understand how fucking pathetic philosophically the intellectual dark web has always been. Like, it's so fucking cringe and stupid. Like, it's literally a cope. Their whole ideology is literally a cope of, like, everything that's happening is just naturally supposed to be happening, so we just need to throw up our hands and just allow it to happen. And the only problem with society is the things that are threats to it, which are supposedly supposed to be fucking transgender college kids like me, right? Like, they think that we are, like, the scary fucking threat to their natural order of the world, which is actually the thing that's fucking up everyone's life behind the scenes. But they just think that that's natural. They just think that that's the way it has to be. It's fucking stupid. Like, it's literally a cope. It's literally the definition of a fucking cope. So my response, my tweet in response to him, and I did this, like, within a minute of him sending this tweet, because I really wanted him to fucking... I wanted him to respond to me. I didn't want to fucking have to sift through his stupid fucking fan base. But I said, "Can you explain why? It seems evident to me that a system based around the motive towards profit for an owner class, which accumulates the surplus value of a working class, is the fundamental material cause of inequality." Because obviously, when you have a system of classes, that's going to be unequal. Like, that, duh. Like, this doesn't just come out of fucking nowhere. Like, it's a material structure. It's a material relationship. And the consequences of that relationship. Like, it's not... this isn't fucking myths. This is, like... I brought it all the way back to the structure. Because if you didn't catch this, in his original statement, he doesn't even make a point. Like, he's not even making a point. He's just saying, you're not serious if you think this. He's not explaining why. Like, he acts like that's just obvious. Like, it's just an obvious truth that inequality doesn't come from capitalism. But it's like, it's actually obvious that it's the opposite if you know anything about capitalism and how it actually works. Like, throughout all of these people replying to me, someone said something, and I'm literally just like, dude, you don't know how your own system works. Here it is. he says, capitalism isn't profit motive for owner class, in quotes. It's profit motive for everyone. So he doesn't know what profit is. The level of surplus value accumulation from employees in your model is set arbitrarily by you. See, but it's not, though. It's not arbitrary. I'm describing the fact that you have people working, producing value that they don't get compensated in. That's like, it's not arbitrary. It's an objective fucking circumstance. Your whole theory is just a simple and arbitrary narrative. Dude, no it's not. There's nothing fucking arbitrary about Marxism. It's not arbitrary. Like, it's a fucking objective analysis. Like, it's not arbitrary. And it's not a fucking narrative. Like, so I literally just simply replied, I'm like, no, theft of surplus labor value produced by the workers is what profit is. You don't know how your own system works. Because he clearly doesn't. And it's obvious in his fucking stupid responses to me as well. He literally just keeps replying to himself, too. Like, he kept replying to himself in a fucking thread of, like, 7 messages. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. If you don't make a fucking smart point, then I'm not going to reply. Jesus Christ. See, look at this. One of his responses out of the many to me, he goes, if I'm hot and I have $5, I buy an ice cream. I consider myself better off than with keeping the $5. Did I steal surplus value? What the fuck does that even mean? Like, what do you fucking mean? Did I steal surplus value? Bro, you fucking made a purchase. You fucking bought something. That's obviously not what I'm fucking talking about when I talk about surplus value. Like, what? What? And then he goes, it's not like I don't understand your theory. Bro, you clearly don't understand Marxism. It's pretty obvious that you don't understand Marxism. If you think that buying an ice cream is stealing surplus value according to Marxism, that's not how it works. And then he goes, the irony is that in reality, you want the exact opposite for your friends to steal surplus value generated by not your friends while saying they originated it. When that's not what fucking Marxism proposes as a solution. Like, that's such a illiterate reading of Marxism. Because obviously, that's not the fucking solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is to make it so that all of the workers get the full value that their work produces. That's the fucking solution. Like, and then here's the one of the key points of their idealism that pisses me off the most is when they act as if being employed is a completely free agreement when it isn't. It's coercive by nature. The employee-employer relationship is coercive by nature. There's, like, just because you think that you made the free decision to work at a certain place doesn't mean it's not coercive. Doesn't mean you weren't materially coerced by scarcity, by the fact that you live in a society with this arbitrary fucking money system that you need to survive, that's coercing you into the job. Like, these people aren't deep thinkers. They're totally pseudo-intellectual. These people are not deep thinkers whatsoever. Or else they would make that fucking simple societal observation. And then there's people literally telling me to watch Jordan Peterson to find out the answer to my question, as if he can't just respond to me and answer and face the fucking reality of what he's saying. And I keep telling them, it's like, dude, the irony in this is these are the same people who cannot stop fucking simping for the free marketplace of ideas, whatever the fuck that means, right? And I used to be a fucking Jordan Peterson fan. I was. And then I was convinced by better ideas to be a fucking communist instead, right? So that's the irony here in these people telling me to watch his videos. It's like, dude, I've seen his fucking videos. They suck. They're literally garbage. Like, it's pseudo-intellectual, idealist, mystical fucking garbage. And it's all a cope to justify capitalism. And not only capitalism, but racial hierarchy, gender hierarchy, fucking queer hierarchy. Like, it's all just hierarchy justification. It's all just the naturalization of fucking hierarchies and this sleight of hand cultural traditionalism. That's all he is. That's all he represents. And it's like, if you had any actual exposure to any kind of like intellectual milieu, you'd be able to realize that. But these people, they think that they're intellectuals, but Jordan Peterson is the only guy they listen to. Like, it's fucking pathetic. And it's like, do you not understand? Do you not understand that if the majority of fucking people on the planet, like in the globe, don't sell their labor power, they will fucking starve to death? Like, that's not a free decision. Especially if you live in a country where the corporation, a country where you didn't ask the company to come to you. They just come to you, pay you like dog shit, and fucking send the products back to the fucking imperialist countries. Like what? Do you have no concept of the fact that not everybody lives in America, you fucking dipshit? Like, what the fuck? Like, and then somebody says, oh, globalism is the problem. It's like, dude, good luck reversing globalism. Good luck to you. I fucking dare you to try. Like, it's not gonna happen. And then he just didn't respond to that. Because clearly he does not fucking have an answer. Wait, he did. He said I moved the goalpost. Dude, you moved the fucking goalpost. I was talking about inequality. You're talking about globalism. So I answered your fucking point. These people are all projectionists. It's literally all projectionists. I'm not the idealist, you're the idealist. No, you're literally a fucking idealist. Why should we care what Richard Wolff thinks? Why should I care what Jordan Peterson thinks? Jordan Peterson literally pussed out on a debate with Richard Wolff. So, why the fuck are his fans dissing Richard Wolff? No Marxists will debate me. Yeah, because every time they challenge you, you fucking run away because you can't defend your fucking positions. And there's literally people in my mentions telling me that the owning and working class don't exist. It's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, holy shit. It's so funny how these people critique Marxism without knowing what fucking Marxism is. Like, they critique Marxism without knowing what Marxism is. And what Marx actually wrote. And the concepts that Marx fucking developed. You see what I mean? They have no acumen. They have no legs to stand on in this debate because they don't know the fucking material. They don't know it. It's literally a bunch of simps. It's literally a bunch of status quo simps. That's Jordan Peterson. That's Jordan Peterson and his fans. And people making the fucking human nature argument as well. It's so pathetic. It's like, dude, our idea of what human nature is stems directly from the way that we build our society first. It's not like it's not fucking the other way around, okay? The human nature argument in defense of capitalism is a cope. It's saying that the human subject, as the system has trained us to think of it, is just the way that humanity is intrinsically, when that's a fucking myth. That's not true. Human nature is a vast array of multiplicity. It's not just, oh, humans are greedy. Like, that's fucking pathetic. You can't, like, how do these people think that history moves forward? How do they think that that works? Like, why do they think that before our age of capitalism, people operated in a different way? Why do they think that happened? Like, what changed about us in between the times? Like, it's just so stupid. The only reason why people think, and this is my point to make, the only reason why people think that greed is natural is because greed is encouraged by capitalism. That's the only reason why they think that. It's literally a post hoc justification. It's literally a cope. And these people are going to keep coping, which is fine, because I'm over here actually learning shit while they cope. So I'm at peace with that. I've escaped their little fucking clique of fucking mystical naturalist bullshit. I've escaped that bullshit. So I fucking got away from that fucking dog shit. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating that people actually think this way. Oh, there's no classes. We're just individuals. Dude, you don't understand the society you live in. You don't get it. You don't fucking understand it. So there's my heated Jordan Peterson rant for the night. That's not even the only thing we're doing tonight either. I want to go into I want to sort of chill. Let's just chill. Let's chill for a second. Bring the vibe down from yelling at the Petersonites and talk about Mark Fisher a little bit. Let's tone it down. Get a little bit more femme here. Have a drink. Let's talk about Mark Fisher. Particularly a lecture that he gave in 2011, I think. 2009, 2011. Called The Slow Cancellation of the Future. Which I think was focused on his book, Ghosts of My Life, which is, I don't have, but I do have Capitalist Realism. I haven't read it yet, but when I do, there will probably be video content about that book on the channel. So stay tuned, probably, I don't know, like around the summertime or something for that one. Um, but in this lecture, he talks about a lot of things that are very prescient to our times, especially in like COVID times, I feel, with the world of Zoom and fucking online school and online work and online world, it seems. Like this sort of bifurcation of the world into the internet space that's sort of forced by these crises. Um, I think it matters according to that, because he talks about the sort of like the hell of the email world, and the fact that back like in earlier times in recent history, people were not constantly checking to see if they got a letter in the fucking mail. Like, maybe you get one like once a week or something, but like it wasn't this constant communication that is sort of imposed upon all of us. And he talks about the emergence of the email world, and the fact that like even just like very short while ago, relatively in history, people used to go into the school to check their email. You didn't check your email at your house, you know? But then, now, it's like you're constantly being emailed. You're being emailed 100 times a day. You're constantly being bombarded with communications. And Mark Fisher makes the point that for Deleuze, every communication is on some level, it's a command. So you're constantly being bombarded with commands. And even if you don't respond to the command, even if you don't obey the command, you still have to deal with the constant bombardment of the stressor of the command. Like, and there's a whole realm of enjoyment that gets displaced by this dynamic. There's a whole realm of like feeling that gets drained by this dynamic of constant bombardment of commands in the form of communications. And so like and he even says this, which is literally like, I know exactly what he's talking about, because if you do this, you feel this way. He says you can't even fully enjoy a piece of theory that you're reading, because like I'm reading through last time I was reading through Anti-Oedipus. I'm making my progress through it, and then I check my phone to tweet or something, and you can literally feel you're enjoying the theory slightly less than you were before. You're slightly less engaged in the theory just by virtue of the fact that you just checked your phone again, for the 1,000th time that day. You checked your phone, which just fucking drains you of the enjoyment that you could be having. Participating and really engaging in a physical activity like that, like reading a book, like reading a fucking book in your hands. You know what I mean? And like, he talks about how like there's an impact upon the human nervous system by these technological advancements that wasn't there before. It wasn't there before. So it's like it's kind of no wonder why my generation is so depressed and anxious when you think of it in these terms, because it's like we're constantly being bombarded with commands. We're constantly expected. We're constantly under the barrage of information. And like that's That's where our world is at right now. It's online. It's on the internet. That's where the world takes place. In a very big way. Especially now, like I was saying before. And you can tell when you listen to him, when you listen to Mark Fisher talking, and you watch his lectures, you can tell, like, he's lived through what he's talking about. Because of his, like, nervous, anxious demeanor and mannerisms. Like, you can tell that he's lived through what he's talking about. And he's just writing out his own, like, lived experiences. Because he talks about how, like, he lived a lonely life of just fucking academic work constantly. And that's, like, the key connection that I feel like you have to make with this. Because he talks about it as, like, we don't want to go in a technologically reactionary direction with it. And we don't want to go in a Nick Land direction with it either, you know? So I think the key connection you have to make is you have to connect it to the work apparatus. You have to connect it to capitalism and make that critique. Because, like, it wouldn't be so bad without all these institutions. And the administrative, bureaucratic state apparatus and all of that shit. Like, that, you almost have to get Foucauldian with it. You have to, like, combine Mark Fisher with Foucault to kind of get, and then circle it all the way back into Marx. Like, that's like a project that I think would be really interesting for me to sort of, like, try to take on, is that kind of a synthesis. Because it's like, that seems like a really good critique of society as we know it right now. So I might develop something out of that. But I am still trying to work through Deleuze's stuff, which takes time. It takes time to digest Anti-Oedipus and really, like, engage with it on the level where you can actually understand it. But I just wanted to talk about that because, like, I feel like this will be a really good clip. And I think it's very relevant. Like, it's just very prescient. And it needs to be talked about. Because another, like, beautiful thing about Mark Fisher's thinking is the fact that he understood that, like, depression and shit doesn't just come from inside of an individual's brain. It comes from the fucking material circumstances that are perpetuated by the societal context that the individual is in. Like, he understood that. And he understood to, like, the great extent to which capitalism has taken over life. He understood that as well. And this is, like, real substantial theoretical shit right here. This is not, like, you won't get this on fucking Vosh's stream. Like, this is real shit. You know? I want to do some writing of my own as well. I'm gonna go places, guys. Like, I'm setting up my self-design major. I'm going to fucking be a theorist of some kind. I'm building the acumen to do it. in this sort of slow but sure process. And of course, the tragedy of Mark Fisher is the fact that he fucking killed himself over all of this. He literally did. Like, it's a very tragic story. And like it's a very like real, you can tell he had a very real human experience that he was then able to theoretically articulate and make something out of. And that, I think, is very like, that's almost the way that theory should be written to me, is out of your real life, out of your real experience and circumstance. Because then it substantially means something in reality, you know? So I'm gonna get more into that Mark Fisher stuff. Because he was also like a Deleuzian, like I don't understand why I'm not more into him already, because he was very much like down my alley. Something in my hair. So yeah, Jordan Peterson versus fucking Mark Fisher. Like that's how this episode has gone. Capitalism simps to fucking capitalist realism. That's maybe that'll be the title of this episode. I hope fucking technology doesn't take over the world. I hope it's not like Nick Land's dystopia of like Neo China and the techno capitalist singularity where we're just slaves to robots and it like artificial intelligence just like takes over the whole fucking universe in service of capitalism, and we like expand across galaxies to just fucking plunder for profit for the fucking AI god. Like that's the future that I don't want to occur. But it's hard to even imagine a future. Like it's hard to even know where we're going, you know? Especially in post-capitalist terms. Like, what the fuck is going to stop global capitalism? What is it going to be? Like, what is going to happen in the next century to the world? It's like, it's kind of an open question. Like, there's so much happening and there's so many possibilities that it's literally just like, what kind of, people think we're living in the end of the world. I just think we're living in a period of decline, especially like geopolitically in the West, quote unquote. I think we're literally living in a period of decline and like failure of our society. We're witnessing what it looks like to see a great like imperial society crumble and fail its people. Not to sound all like LARPy and like civilizational or whatever, but like that's what I think our era is. It's a period of decline. I don't think that necessarily means that the world is ending or whatever. Like, what does that even mean, really? But like, it does mean that we're in a period of decline, and like we're witnessing failure of society all around us, which in some ways isn't so bad. Like, I honestly kind of think we should embrace that and see what it can open up, and like see what kind of possibilities lie within it, and what we can do with it, you know? Because like our society wasn't all that great to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that things are degenerating. It's just that the abysmal state of what has always existed here is being revealed to us by its decline. Like the flaws are just being revealed. But they were always there. Like, fuck, American society has always sucked. You know? But there's a lot of like part of what I mean by like the openings is like there's a lot of weird cultural dynamics. Like this era we're in now of like quasi, like almost like, it's like there's not one singular hegemonic absolute culture, you know? Like there's a reactionary culture that still exists, that's very like traditionalist and like white supremacist, you know, like they're still clinging to that. But then there's also like this pink capitalism culture that's emerging, especially like throughout the past year, like just as a consequence of all that happened in 2020 with all of that stuff, where it's like it's now becoming less profitable to be racist for corporations, and like marketing themselves as socially progressive has become profitable. Like minoritized subjects are becoming consumers and marketable demographics to be marketed to, which the key point about that is that it isn't much better. And the reason why is because that, just like the fucking technology point, is just part of the society of control that Deleuze described in his essay. That's what that means. We're reduced. We're not even individuals anymore. We're reduced to demographics. We're reduced to our artificially drawn territory. We're not escaping them. You know, you see what I mean? Like, suddenly, like, for example, women becoming a marketable demographic overall is not liberation for women unless you're just a fucking liberal feminist. Like, do you see what I mean? Like, social progress under capitalism can only go so far. And even then, it's kind of an illusion, because it's like you still have the minoritized subjects of like, and it all intersects, of course, but like particularly of like people of color in America, where the material inequality is still there. Like, pink capitalism and like black capitalism, if I dare say, you know, and I won't get pounced upon for even speaking upon the issue of race. How dare I, you know? By all these fucking overly woke pussies who think that way, but yeah. That's not gonna solve the issue, is my point. And those are the types of issues that I want to see solved. Like, I want to see the powerlessness of the minoritized subjects be ended. I want to see an actual leftist movement. But it never works. It literally never works. It's all been re-territorialized. Over and fucking over again. Like, even Bernie has been subsumed into the system. He literally just works for Biden. Like, it's he literally just works for Biden. Literally. And I don't care about some utilitarian axis of like, but isn't that better than if someone else did? Because it's like, yeah, obviously, I'm going to say yes. But that's not the important part. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that it would be better if he had won the fucking election. That's the fucking point. So yeah, we're fighting a lot of copisms. We're fighting a lot of copisms. RedTube and Vosh are cope, unfortunately. Jordan Peterson, the intellectual dark web, all those motherfucking neo-reactionists even. That's a cope. That's also a fucking cope. And honestly, on some level, I'm gonna go like Derridian with this. Like Spectres of Marx type thing. I think that's part of what that work is about. Marxist-Leninists are coping as well. It's a cope. It is a cope. I haven't been convinced of otherwise yet. It's a lot of coping. I just want to carve out a better path to take. I want to find a fucking movement that will actually win and that's authentically Marxist. But I don't know if that'll ever happen. I don't know if that'll ever happen. But I'm not going to take the fucking black pill and kill myself. Just because it's like, oh, it's all hopeless and capitalism is all powerful and be like a transcendental nothing can be doneist, like I mentioned last week. Because that's also a cope on some level. It's a lot of coping. So yeah, I'm going to continue doing my theoretical work, I guess, and see what happens in the future. ContraPoints critique is coming soon. Don't forget that. And And next week, maybe we will have a guest on the show. Hopefully that will occur again. It kind of throws me off sometimes when you have guests on here, to be honest, because it's like, okay, Jesus Christ, I can't fully articulate my thinking in those situations, just because of how I operate socially. So it's like, yeah, it's almost preferable for me to just do this show on my own, because I can fully articulate my thoughts and take it in the direction I want it to go in, But yeah. Now it's time to upload this and come back next week for more. It's weekly. I'm staying on the weekly train on here. Hopefully this will take off. I think it's a decent podcast for a fucking strange theoretical college student. So, see you later.